disgusting, and if you're defending
Oh, what was that? I was just coloring in my coloring book.
you're defending it.
This lady's title is actually so crazy. I don't even know why she said that.
And this is exactly what grooming does. It completely blinds you to look at the facts that are right in front of your face. Let's go through some more evidence that proves that this behavior is grooming and it does harm children in the long run. I will have this creator tagged below, but she shared some screenshots where we can see where Melanie has bought her outfits from, or where she has drawn inspiration for her character, if you will. And here is some information from justice.gov as well as Cornell Law School on just how much of a gray area this issue is. It is different country to country, state to state, city to city, which is why we are being so harsh about it, because it just should all be wrong, especially when you do a little bit more digging into the community itself. And you really have to start asking yourself, should children be exposed to this? How could this harm children in real life? How could this be dangerous for children? And then I'm going to read you a blog post from this here blog. And now I know, granted, it is a couple years old, but I still think that it really hits in regards to this topic. The pathetic sexist stereotypes within DDLG I will leave on one side for now. One website provides a pictogram to explain the basic idea. Someone is dominant, the daddy figure, and someone is submissive, typically the little girl, although it could be DDLB if a young boy is involved. The female is dressed up as a child or as a baby. Frequently, there will be a pacifier in her mouth secured by a bondage gag, or the woman child might be wearing a diaper. There is no question in my mind that DDLG is an extreme form of sexualizing childhood. It is likely to draw children towards producing sexual images of themselves as tokens of friendships, presents, or money are being offered in return for submission in all things, including sex. Who knows how many children might already be caught up in it, now too scared or embarrassed to come forward to find a way out, a perfect trap for predators. This type of content and access to groups that propagate it should be confined to adults. It should not be hosted or visible on public platforms that allow 13-year-olds or indeed any children to be members. It should only be accessible behind an age verification gateway. And because the images are not illegal, hotlines receiving reports, the police and courts are in no position to require them to be removed. Defining what is harmful content that should not be on unrestricted public view certainly has the potential to throw up difficult or edged cases, but I humbly submit DDLG is not one of them. The internet is an open space where 1 in 3 of all human users in the world is a child, and we have to think of everything we do online against that backdrop, especially when these artists admit that they make up some of these scenarios.
Your songs is like a personal experience, or tell me about your songs. Well, the album that I just put out, Crybaby, is basically, it's just like the whole inspiration was like childhood themes and pairing that with adult situations. So whether it's something that I went through or someone else went through, it always had to be like an adult, like an adult story at the core of the song. And like the outside, like the facade was kind of like this like bubblegum, like pastel, like little kid, like kind of coating around it, I guess. And so like I would just think of titles like Dollhouse and Carousel and Milk and Cookies and Tag Your It and all these like little kid things or themes, and I would just think of things to relate it to in my life, whether like if I was going through it at that moment, or just stories that I would make up. So
a normal, healthy person does not fantasize about how they could have been further traumatized or how other people are traumatized, and they absolutely do not put those things into art, whether it's music, videos, coloring books, and then encourage other people to buy it and engage with it. Vent art is something you absolutely could do, but it's not meant to be shared with others, especially the public. I said it before and I'll say it again. What if I made a coloring book depicting my child abuse and my trauma? And I don't mean any sort of like artistic interpretation. I mean, I straight up illustrated scenes of my abuse. Anyone at any point in time could be groomed, because grooming is not about differences in age and gender. It's about differences in power dynamics. The fact that most of her audience were children whenever she first got a hold of them, and a lot of her audience now are children listening to her new music, etc., does put all of y'all, fans of hers and defenders of hers, in a power differential. You are not as powerful as her. And I don't mean that in the sense of she has more money and fame than you. I mean that in the sense of she was an adult when she was making the choices of the outfits and art that she was sharing with you. And because you were a child who really looked up to her, you grew up thinking that that was normal and that was okay behavior and that was okay for you to be exposed to. Whereas the whole time she knew exactly what she was doing. She can deny it all she wants and say it's just a character and it's based off of her trauma, or it's not, or she made it up, or it's based off of this, whatever excuse she wants to make. It's not okay. And I personally do not care that we do not have a law that says it's outright not okay. We need to be pushing for that. because that in turn protects our children. So yeah, intentional or not, at this point in time, she is well aware of how this is harmful. You fans of hers are well aware now at this point in time how this is harmful. Ultimately, it's up to you guys if you think that this is worth giving up for the sake of protecting children. What was that? You still don't understand how the images are harmful? I'll just leave you with this. One of the #1 downloaded images that PDF files have is the copper tone baby, like the one of the dog biting her swimsuit. And now go through that coloring book and look at it a little bit deeper. Children and the likeness of children deserve protection and dignity. And those of us who have survived or been victims of these very things that is portrayed in her art deserve to have those traumas talked about with dignity and tact, not in a way that is affiliated with some of the very things that caused us to be victims in the first place.